Level 1, the student. You are 18 years old and you chose a fashion school over a university, and your father asked you twice if you were sure, and both times you said yes, and the second time you meant it more than the first. You arrive with a portfolio you spent 6 months building, and a sewing machine your grandmother gave you, and more opinions about proportion and silhouette than anyone in your life has ever wanted to hear. The first semester dismantles everything you thought you knew. Your sketches are derivative, your construction is inconsistent. Your concept for your first collection is, as your instructor puts it in a critique in front of everyone, a mood board in search of a point of view. You sit with that in the hallway afterward and feel something that is partly humiliation and partly the specific clarifying pain of being told the truth by someone qualified to tell it. You go back to your studio space and start over. Not the sketch, the thinking behind the sketch. You're learning that fashion at its highest level is not about clothes. It is about ideas that clothes carry into the world. The clothes are the vehicle. The idea is the reason for the journey. You spend 3 years learning to have ideas worth making. You graduate with a collection that your thesis advisor calls genuinely strange, and then pauses and adds that genuinely strange is the only kind worth showing. You take that into the industry like a compass. Level 2, the assistant. Your first job pays $32,000 a year to do everything that nobody more senior wants to do. You pull fabric samples from the archive. You organize the sample closet with a precision that the senior designer will never acknowledge. You sit in fittings and take notes on a clipboard and hand pins to people who don't look at you, and you hand the pins correctly, and you look at the garments, and you're learning something that no classroom could have taught you: how a garment actually behaves on a body. How the sketch and the reality diverge in ways that require decisions made with your hands, not your pencil. You work 60 hours a week during Fashion Week. You work 50 during the months between. You eat at your desk. You answer emails at midnight. You do this without complaint because the fashion industry has an infinite supply of people who will do it without complaint, and the ones who last are the ones who find the work itself sustaining enough to fuel the hours. You find it sustaining. Not always. Enough. You watch the creative director work. You watch how she moves through a fitting, how she sees a garment from across a room and identifies the one thing wrong with it immediately. How she communicates that thing to the pattern maker with 3 words that contain an entire technical conversation. You study her vocabulary. You are building the language you will eventually speak fluently. You're at the stage where you understand more than you can produce. Level 3, the junior designer. You are given your own small responsibilities, a capsule within the larger collection, 6 pieces that need to connect to the main line while being identifiably yours. You present them to the creative director in a meeting that lasts 20 minutes and produces 11 changes and 2 complete eliminations and 1 look that she holds in her hands and nods at slowly and says, "Keep this one exactly as it is." That look goes down the runway. You watch it from the back of the tent. A model you've seen in magazines walks out in something that came from you, and 400 people in front row seats look at it, and the industry press records it, and it exists in the world now permanently, and you are the only person in the tent who knows it came from a sketch. You made it 2 a.m. after everyone else went home. You don't tell anyone at the show. You stand at the back and watch, and you feel the thing that keeps people in this industry through everything it requires. The making of something from nothing. The particular satisfaction of an idea that was invisible in your head and is now visible in the world. Nothing else produces that feeling, and you have been chasing it since the sewing machine your grandmother gave you. Level 4, the designer. You have a title now that carries weight in the building. You manage junior assistants. You have accountability for sections of the collection. You develop relationships with suppliers and pattern makers, and the technical staff whose knowledge makes your ideas physically possible. You learn that the most powerful skill in fashion is not drawing. It is communication. The ability to transfer what you see in your head into the hands of other people accurately enough that what emerges resembles what you intended. The industry is relentless in its calendar. 2 main collections a year, plus pre-collections, plus capsules, plus collaborations, plus whatever special projects the brand decides are strategically necessary. The pace does not accommodate contemplation. You develop the ability to generate ideas on demand, which is not the same as inspiration, but is the industrial version of it and is what professional creativity actually requires. Level 5, the senior designer. You have influence now over the direction of the collection. The creative director consults you. Your opinion carries weight in a room where opinions are the currency of every conversation. You have developed a point of view that is recognizable, a way of seeing proportion and construction and the relationship between a garment and a body that other people in the building have started to describe as yours specifically. A magazine publishes a profile of the design team. Your name appears in the 3rd paragraph. Someone who has never met you sends you a message saying your work was the reason they applied to fashion school. You read that message and think about the instructor who said your first collection was a mood board in search of a point of view and how much distance exists between that moment and this one. Level 6. The design director. You run the design team, 15 people whose work you shape and evaluate and push beyond what they think they're capable of. You run the fittings. You make the calls that the creative director used to make when you were standing beside her taking notes. You understand now why those calls were made the way they were, and you also understand that your calls will be different because you're not her, and the collection should not look like it wants to be. Fashion Week from this side is 48-hour days that blur together and end in a show that lasts 11 minutes and determines how 200 people spent the previous 6 months. You watch the 11 minutes from the wings and see every decision the runway reveals and every one it conceals, and you file both for the next collection before the applause finishes. Level 7. The creative director. Your name is above the door in a way that is not literal and is felt by everyone in the building. Every collection is an expression of your vision, and your vision is responsible for the commercial performance of a brand that employs hundreds of people and represents a legacy that extends back decades before you arrived. The pressure is specific and total. Every season you are balancing the heritage of the house against the necessity of relevance. Too much heritage and the brand becomes a museum. Too much novelty and you lose the customer who has been faithful for 20 years. The line between those two is where every creative decision lives, and it moves every season. Level 8. The founder. You leave the house and build your own. The freedom is complete and terrifying in equal measure. Every decision is yours. Every failure is yours. The brand is your name, and your name is the brand, and the brand is still being built, and every collection is a statement of belief in something that doesn't fully exist yet. You show the first collection in a space that is not a traditional runway, because you're building something that is not a traditional brand. 60 people watch, 80 attend the second. The third gets reviewed in a publication that the industry reads, and the review calls your work quietly radical, and you read it standing in your studio at midnight, surrounded by the fabrics for the next collection. Level 9. The icon. Your name means something now beyond your clothes. It means a way of thinking about the body and garments and the relationship between the two that influenced a generation of designers who studied your work the way you once studied the work of those before you. Young designers reference you in their thesis presentations. You sit in a jury for a fashion school and see your own vocabulary in their sketches and feel something that requires a moment of quiet to process. Level 10. The legacy. You are 65. The archive of your work spans 4 decades. You walk through a retrospective exhibition of your collections in a museum, and you see the work the way a reader sees a book they wrote, familiar and strange simultaneously, made by someone who was you and is no longer entirely you and whose decisions you sometimes understand completely and sometimes cannot explain at all. Somewhere an 18-year-old just arrived at fashion school with a portfolio and a sewing machine, and more opinions about proportion than anyone in their life wants to hear. Their first critique is in 3 weeks. Their instructor will tell them something true, and it will hurt, and they will go back to the studio and start over. That is the beginning of everything. They have no idea yet how far the beginning goes. They'll find out. They always do. The cycle continues. Subscribe to stay with us. Every video is another level. And drop a comment below. Tell us what level you're at right now. We read every single one.